Rich from pickdogs.com and sportschatplace.com. I went back to the old outfit with the sports chat shirt and the Pick Dogs hat. Got some other Pick Dog shirts and stuff. We're going to tell you what, we're going to mix it up on a daily basis here. But, of course, got the Puck Dogs, Rod and Chris, with me as always, and we got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Man, am I chomping at the bit for the season to get going again. But I got to say, with the pictures coming in from around the country and around the world, I can't say that I can see this happening sooner rather than later. I think it's going to be later rather than sooner. But in the meantime, we're going to be with you here every single day, just like we have been. We might run out of things to say. We'll just recycle old things and update them. But one thing that we know will happen, this is the last day of March, and by this time, in a month from now, the NFL draft will have happened. And I believe today will be the last day would be the last day a month from now. I'll probably live stream, depending on what's going on. I might live stream round one with you guys and maybe even live stream the rest of the draft with you guys. Kind of, how we were going to do the March Madness brackets and stuff. I'll just do the NFL draft with you guys. So, it's not for everyone. I understand that. Some people find the NFL draft super exciting. Some people find it super boring. But it's definitely is out there. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about some NFL draft stuff today. Get the blood back flowing in the system.
How about you, Rod? How you doing?
Doing good. Okay.
What'd you do yesterday?
I played some horses, and then I took the dogs for a big walk. I had a nap. I hacked the ice some more. And then it snowed. The wind picked up and it snowed.
After the show was over, I went out into the front yard and I chipped 250 golf balls. I have thousands of golf balls, thousands. If tomorrow maybe we'll just open up my golf bag randomly, and you'll see, like, whenever I'm on the course and I find golf balls, I put them in the side pocket, and usually my bag gets so full you can't even fit it on the cart anymore. So I have to empty out the balls, and I have this huge bins, that you get from Costco in the garage that are just filled with golf balls. So like when I go to the driving range and I don't feel like hitting a full bucket, I'll just bring like a small bag of balls. People are like, "Man, you're hitting regular golf balls." I'm like, these are just random golf balls that I found. A lot of them are crappy. A lot of them are, just brands that I don't play. So, they're better than driving range golf balls, granted, but they're not balls that I'm going to use in a round. So it doesn't really matter. I'll have the net set up in the next day or two in the front yard and be smacking balls around. My neighbors will be hating life. So did that, and then I have been working out. Did the Nordic track for an hour. Watched Jim Gaffigan on Amazon Prime, and I watched Sebastian Maniscalco on Amazon Prime. Then took another nap, and let's see what else. Oh, ate like 6 times in between there as well. Popcorn, oatmeal, all my same things that I eat all the time. Turkey sandwich, 2 Reese's peanut butter eggs, about 100 graham crackers, certainly, and more than just about 7 small handfuls of almonds and about 10 small handfuls of peanuts, and then had pad thai chicken for dinner that I made. So it's a pretty exciting day. And then the evening programming was watched the replay, because I don't watch it on Sunday, but I watched the replay of 90 Day Fiancé Pillow Talk, because I watch 90 Day Fiancé on Sunday nights, but I watched the Pillow Talk show yesterday, and then Below Deck, the sailing yacht, which I don't love. But that was pretty much the whole day in a nutshell right there. It's what it's come to. That was Monday. Mondays always are slow days anyway. Today's a big day. I have a 4-hour conference call today with our branding people talking about what we're going to be doing. Yeah, well, there's no golf here to bet on, so it'd be like betting on everything else. Supposedly, we've been on lockdown for a while now, but supposedly April 30th they're going to open things back up. I do want to say before we get started into the lunacy and the crazy stuff on the show. On a serious note, I do wish everybody who knows somebody or is suffering from the coronavirus, all the best and well wishes, and of course I wish there was something we could do to help. I know that we're fighting something out there that there is no solution to yet. I'm a strong believer that there will be a solution. I've said on the show a number of times, how many cases of smallpox do you see? How often do you see measles outbreaks? Things like that. This is not the first time we've seen something like this, but obviously, it's the first time in this media age that we've seen something like this, and it's shocking, right? It's just shocking. The images that we're seeing coming out of New York are absolutely Vietnam shocking. Right? I mean, Vietnam War shocking. That's really all you can say about it. But anyways, someone in here mentioning, Chris, how did we do in our Madden Sim picks yesterday?
Well, it's like I said to you guys before we started. The Steelers Chiefs game got canceled because there were network issues. But if you played those other 3 games, you guys gave out another winning birdcage. The Dolphins won money line against the Bengals in overtime, 33-30. Cincinnati had a 21-point fourth quarter, but decided to have a questionable swing pass on fourth down in overtime to lose the game.
Counts the same, but it was 3.5, so it's like there's a chance they would have kicked the field goal anyway, right?
Well, no, they were backed up to their own 35. So.
But that what the thing is, I could see the Bengals running that play in real life too.
So it gives the game a little bit of credibility. Philadelphia beat the Eagles 19-16.
The Cowboys, right? They were getting big points in that game.
Oh, sorry, yeah, they beat the Cowboys. They were getting 4.5 at home.
Now, how did we come up with the Eagles pick against the Cowboys? They just freaking played a few months ago. Exact same game. It's like, I don't know. It's like in real life.
Yeah. And Minnesota was laying 2.5 against Detroit, and they won by a score of 38-17.
So in these new Madden Sim games, is Diggs not on the Vikings anymore on there?
Oh, that I didn't see. I didn't see that because
he's still on the Vikings. The rosters are good to the end of last season.
Not that Rod's watching sim games or anything.
I'm not watching sim games.
Yeah, I know the rosters are good up until the end of the 2019-2020 season.
These are the guys starting the wave in the chat room. Next to this.
But again, you parlayed those 3 up. That was plus 1161. So
I'm ready to. Jed who's ready to see the Colts win the AFC South is coming here. I'm ready to see anybody win a game. I'm about ready right now. I'm actually I would love to see me have a bet on the Mets and Familia give up a tape measure 3-run homer up by 2 with 2 outs. Love to see it. Anyways, today's show, we're going to just go over some of the wide receivers that are available in the NFL draft. You guys know that I love college football, so I'm really familiar with a lot of these names. I'm not necessarily a draft guru. But I do watch a ton of college football, so I know who are good players, and usually I'm able to pick out the guys that are kind of that are value players in the NFL draft, and really who's going to be the busts, because we've seen these guys in college. So let's take a quick look at who's available in this very, very deep wide receiver class, where there's value and where there's some can't miss superstars. And this is the best wide receiver class we've seen in a very, very long time. I consider the A.J. Green, Julio Jones draft one of the best wide receiver drafts of all time because of those two picks, because of those two guys. And if you look at them, A.J. Green and Julio Jones, they're both probably Hall of Famers, So I think this draft has that kind of talent. But I think this draft has more talent, deeper talent than that draft does. So this is the new age of football. And, back when those guys were drafted, Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram were the guys winning Heisman trophies. Now it's quarterbacks every single year. So the college game has evolved to a passing game to match what's going on in the NFL. So wide receivers are in vogue. This will change. Everyone that thinks, oh, this is the NFL and this is what it's going to be. No. This will change. There will be running backs that run between the tackles and ball control and all that stuff. Someone's going to win. We saw a Super Bowl where someone won scoring 13 points, but we're going to see somebody win regularly in the regular season, scoring 14, 17 points, playing defense and running the football, and this will change. But let's get right into it. When we look at the wide receiver rankings, we're all over the place right now. But one of the wide receivers that's out there is CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma. Comes from a passing spread wide open triple option type weird link, Riley, passing game. So he's a junior that's coming out. Chris, any thoughts on CeeDee Lamb, because this guy was an absolute terror.
Oh yeah, 62 grabs for over 1,300 yards last season, 26 touchdowns in 27 games over the last 2 years. He's going to be one of the top two receivers taken in the draft, either him or Jerry Jeudy, who I'm sure we're going to talk about shortly. But he can be a slot receiver, he can be a deep threat. I think, I'm not trying to bring Jeudy too much into this right now, but I watched a lot of SEC because that was the conference I was covering for Sports Chat Plays. I think Judy's a little bit faster than Lamb, but I do think Lamb's a threat because you watched him play against, he tore up, I think it was Oklahoma State. And he was just, you could see he doesn't look ahead until he catches the ball, which is a huge thing that you see some receivers do. But then the vision that he has once he gets the ball, he can turn a 10-yard play into a 40-yard gain. It's scary.
How about you, Rod? Any thoughts here on CeeDee Lamb, Oklahoma?
Yeah, he didn't get as many targets this year as he did in 2018 with Hurts at quarterback.
Hurts was more of a running style, and that's just Hurts, you have to remember, if there's that opening to tuck the ball and run, he took it. And you didn't see that at a Baker Mayfield or Skylar Murray as much.
And you look at what Jalen Hurts did. I mean, to your point, ran for a team high almost 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Yeah,
led the team in carries. So that was going to be a hindrance to Lamb the whole time last year.
Exactly.
Lamb is a partier. He needs to go to an NFL team that's going to keep him focused. Otherwise, he'll lose focus and become party animal, and he won't do so good.
Well, a lot of teams need a wide receiver. That's for sure. I mean, the whole thing about this draft is that it's deep in wide receiver, and there are a lot of teams that need wide receivers.
Yep.
I honestly think that he's rated a little bit too high right now, and I think the Houston Texans are a great fit for him, but I don't think they have a first-round choice, and I'm not sure he's there. I think that matches exactly what Rod just said on the discipline end. Also, losing DeAndre Hopkins, they have a very pressing need here. The thing about CeeDee Lamb, he's not a 15-catch-a-game guy like a Julio Jones is going to be or A.J. Green, but he is a guy that if you do give him a quarter of an inch he will take it all the way every single time. It's like he is one of those guys that it's like kind of like Tyreek Hill on the Chiefs, where it's like how many times do you see him like he gets the ball and it's like he has like a quarter inch of separation and it's a touchdown. It's like there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that that's what you have in CeeDee Lamb. We'll move on because we don't want to take too much time on each guy. But Jerry Jeudy, I think this is the top wide receiver in this draft. I've said that Jerry Jeudy is the top wide receiver in college football since the day he signed with Alabama over Miami. Who, man, did we want this guy bad. This is the second, I would say, of all the wide receivers that Alabama has beat Miami out for, this one hurt the second most of all of those. Miami has beaten Alabama out for a lot of guys too, and and even in recent years they beat them out for some pretty good players too. But this guy is special. This is a once in a lifetime player. The other receiver that I was referring to was Amari Cooper. That was the other one that was between Miami and Alabama, and he took Alabama at the last second. Same thing here with Jerry Jeudy, who was pretty much committed to Alabama, but it looked like he might have been swayed a little bit before, but he ended up going to Alabama. I think this is the best wide receiver in the country and certainly the best wide receiver on the board. He's more than just a speed guy. He can do it all.
Stop and start and cut and deep and juke and jump.
If you have that early pick and you need a wide receiver,
you better be taking this guy.
This is your guy, as far as I'm concerned. They have him ranked as the second wide receiver right now. The wide receiver class, for those of you following the draft coverage, these guys have been all over the map. There's been more movement from the wide receivers than any other position. But Jerry Jeudy, I'd say, is a can't miss. Home run, slam dunk. Chris, anything else there?
Yeah, I think while we were talking about, maybe possible fits, I think he's set up to be a team's number one pretty much out of the gate. And I think a team that could use a receiver like that, they move now. They're in the City of Lights. I think he goes to the Raiders. I think he'd probably be their number one guy again right out of the gate. I think he's better than Tyrell Williams, better than Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is going to slide in and be like the Julian Edelman type slot receiver like he was in college. I just think Jerry Jeudy might be the nice new face of that franchise.
Rod, any more thoughts on Jerry Jeudy?
Him and his yak yards.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. See, the thing is that, and I talked about the Miami thing, is that Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy are both from Miami's backyard, and that's why the Canes were in it for him. I would say any other player in the country outside of those two would have chosen Miami. I don't understand why you would go to, I understand Nick Saban's your coach and you're going to win some games, but why would players go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama over South Beach? If you're an 18-year-old kid, I guess if you're from there, and you grew up with it, and that's what we have here. And, a lot of players do the same thing. But of course, Alabama's got the big numbers. But when you look at Jerry Jeudy, if he stayed at Alabama, he would likely be their top wide receiver or receiver, period, of all time. Yards per catch, touchdowns, all that stuff. He's second right now in just about every major category at Alabama. That says a lot because they've had a lot of good wide receivers and a lot of good tight ends. Amari Cooper is the leader in career touchdowns receiving at Alabama, 31. Henry Ruggs, Alabama, once again. So Alabama had three big wide receivers this year, and they lost Tua. So with Mac Jones in there, they still were effective. But the thing that we saw from Ruggs that was super impressive was that, once again, 17.5 yards per catch. It's like, Basically, he catches the ball, you're going to get a first down every single time. A couple of them. He's third all time in Alabama touchdowns, 24. I mean, what can we say about Ruggs? I mean, this guy can flat out fly as well. He's a little smaller than Judy. 6 foot 190 is what he's listed at. That generally means he looks a little smaller on the field than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said he can fly. He ran the fastest 40-yard at the combine, 4:27. So, he had 100 touches at Alabama in his career. 25% of them went for touchdowns. So this guy has a nose for the end zone. Speed is his weapon, but I think he's definitely improved as a pass catcher and a route runner.
Rod, anything?
He's a big play producer. He's he'll go under the radar. I don't think because Judy will go before him. Judy's a bigger pickup for people. That's why he's ranked down third. But he's still a great pickup for any team.
Go to T. Higgins from Clemson. And, Clemson has put out a lot of good wide receivers in recent years. DeAndre Hopkins, who we mentioned a few times. Sammy Watkins. You have a few guys that have actually been injured, too, for a good amount of time. But Clemson... Well, the thing about Higgins' numbers that are going to be down a little bit is that Clemson really slaughtered teams this year. I mean, they really slaughtered teams. And while Alabama, generally, their slaughters, they left the starters in and ran up the numbers. Clemson ran the football a lot after that. They had Etienne. And it wasn't like they were throwing deep up by 25 and 30. Alabama was doing that. But Clemson wasn't. And Higgins' numbers suffered because of that. I'm not sure I would put Higgins in that Judy or Lamb class, but I think that he's a nice fit for somebody. I don't even know, of all the receivers here, it's like I don't have a thing to say that Higgins isn't as good as some of these other receivers, but given my choice, I don't have him as the fourth best wide receiver. I think in a different year he could be the number one, right? In a different year he could be the number one overall. But this wide receiver class is too good to rate him that high because we looked at Clemson's level of competition this year, and as much as I backed Clemson from day one, he really didn't play a team that had a guy that could cover him. Chris, any thoughts on T. Higgins here?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, they did run the ball a lot, and in what we'll call garbage time when they were up by 35 or whatever. But I think the reason Higgins is getting a little bit recognition from that Clemson, background is he was their only 1,000-yard receiver this year, and he was the first of two receivers that had over 500 receiving yards for the Tigers this year. So there wasn't a lot going on through the air this year. He did have 13 touchdowns. He's a guy that can get up there, but it's like you said, I don't see him going anywhere near where the likes of, Judy, Lamb, and even Ruggs are going to go. I think he's probably late first, early second round.
I think it hurt him that he was injured against Ohio State. He missed most of the first half in that Ohio State game. I think that hurt him. But when he was in the second half, that's when they got it done. And it was, Rod, any thoughts on Higgins?
Well, he prevents the size of his mismatch. He's taller. He'll get the jump ball over a lot of people. So he's good. He'll be good down in the red zone. I don't think he's tough enough between the numbers for me. Down in the red zone, yeah, I think big, tall, jump ball.
Well,
but I don't early second.
Go to We'll go to our next wide receiver here, and this is Jordan Jefferson from the defending national champion LSU Tigers. Jefferson was pretty much unstoppable in in that game against Oklahoma. He's basically throwing the ball; it's a touchdown. Super lightning fast. Um, Certainly, Joe Burrow put up big numbers. I think Jefferson was a good part of that. He was definitely the top guy, and at LSU, he comes from a school with, once again, very good pedigree on the wide receivers. What are you thinking? What are you guys thinking here with Jefferson? I think this is a guy that if Jerry Judy's not on the board, I would say, for me, I would rather have him than Ruggs. I like Ruggs a lot.
Yeah.
I like Ruggs a lot, and I think that you'll see early in his career that Ruggs will have a lot more maybe exciting plays. But I think Jefferson is a guy that you're looking at least an 8 to 10 year NFL career. Because I think that he's one of those guys that's going to be around for a while. He just seems like that sort of player to me. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's like, doesn't seem to, it doesn't. He seems to love the game, and love the moment. And I'm not saying that Ruggs doesn't, or any of the other guys don't. But I just think Jefferson, kind of that whole Ed Orgeron thing, we saw it from Jefferson there. Chris?
No, yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be a volume guy wherever he goes, because you look at what he did with LSU this year. He had 27 more catches than Jamar Chase, who led the team in receiving yardage and touchdowns. But he had 111 catches, over 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns. He's going to be a solid pickup wherever he goes, and we're going to be saying out a lot about these guys because these are the upper echelon of this year's, receiving class.
Well, how about you, Rod? What do you think with Jefferson?
Well, he's fat. I like him better than him than the last guy too, just because he'll stretch the field. He's fast, and he's got that size mismatch as well. He'll be a solid wide receiver for many years wherever he lands.
Next up is Laviska Shenault Jr. from Colorado. Here's a guy talking about rising stock. Really, 1,900 yards in his career. He only played in 9 of 11 games. Colorado was not a bowl team. They really weren't as in focus. He had the worst quarterback of any wide receiver on this list. He's kind of a little bit of a reach guy, but we've seen in the NFL some impact players come out of very similar situations, and I think that's where the intrigue is here. Obviously, a guy who can play, but do you rank him ahead of some of these guys who have ranked behind him, like Denzel Mims? I don't think so. It's like, I think that he's a nice guy. You'd like to have him on your team. He might make you pay, if you don't draft him. But at the same time, there's too many name brands here. There's too many, that are sure things, surer things, than to take someone like this in the first round. Chris?
Yeah, I mean the pro for Shenault is that he's you can kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, like you said, because he didn't have very good quarterback play when he was there.
Terrible quarterback play.
Steven Montez.
He had the worst quarterback play of any receiver on the top 50.
Yeah. Steven Montez is not a guy I'm looking to have throw to me if I'm playing college football and trying to improve my draft stock.
I'm going to use a word that I don't use on this show, and that sucks. Montez. All right, I use it all the time. Montez sucks. Sucks.
But I mean, the other, I think he's going to be the receiver in this higher tier that we always see one or two every year that really fall, and I see Shinobi being that guy that falls because of his injury history. It was frustrating to watch him this year because he was in sometimes, he was out sometimes, and he had core muscle surgery after the combine. What you see on the medical report is just going to be huge for where he gets drafted. And I think he's going to be the receiver that falls to maybe the third or fourth round.
Rod,
Yeah, I think they got
agreement.
I think they got him ranked. They got him ranked too high, way too high. He's definitely not number.
I think this is the guy that's still on the board, like and we see like best players available, and this guy's name's going to be on that list. And it's going to be eventually one of those things where he gets deep enough into the draft. Either he's going to go ridiculously high, right? So like 15th overall or something. Or he's one of those guys that on day 3, you kind of see him still as one of the best players available on the board. They're talking about him. And then all of a sudden, there's a trade. And Bill Belichick trades up and gets him, right? I mean, it's like that's the type of thing. Or Pete Carroll, someone like that trades up and Gruden, right, trades up and gets this guy, and he's a nice piece of the team for a few years. He has some big games. He's a dependable guy that they have there. And, it's a matter of fitting him into what you do. Denzel Mims comes in at number 7. Here's a guy I've seen all over the board. Baylor wide receivers. This year's a little bit different than some of the other Baylor wide receivers because the system was a little bit different this year. But Mims is just a tough customer. Once again, sketch quarterback play at best at Baylor. They were up and down. I know that they made it, almost ran the table this year. But still, Mims was a huge part of it. I think that someone's going to be really happy, but it's like he's going to need to be on a team where he fits perfectly. He wasn't consistently big numbers. He just wasn't. And I think that's part of the problem here. Chris?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I mean, you're right. He was a big part of that Baylor run this year. He had over 1,000 receiving yards, 12 touchdowns. Decent at the Senior Bowl this year. He had a fast, 4.38 combine at the 4.38 at the combine. It's like you said, I see him being a number 2 or number 3 receiver. Right.
It's like that's the whole thing with Mims is like I'm not. Believe me, if he's on my team, I'm excited about it. Yeah. I'm super excited about it. But I think part of the problem is that he's going to need to fit in because I don't think he can be your number 1, even though he is 6'3".
Yeah, I can see him going to a place maybe like in Atlanta. Where he could be groomed under someone like Julio Jones or somewhere else with maybe a solid receiving core, maybe at Kansas City.
Yeah, he had 5 catches for 75 yards on a touchdown against Georgia in the Sugar, and Georgia had a pretty good secondary this past season. 7 catches against Texas, 6 in that first Oklahoma game with 2 touchdowns. It was shut down after that. So it's like he's a 6-7 catch guy. He's good, real good. We talked a couple shows ago about the Vikings and Diggs. Can Mims replace Diggs? Not right out of the gate. He has upside though, too.
Yeah.
He's got the frame, at 6'3". So I don't think he's going to have the instant impact that Jerry Jeudy is. I don't. But I've been wrong before. The guy who I think is underrated here as well, Michael Pittman from USC. I talked about these USC wide receivers all season long. I just ran out of superlatives to say about how good these USC receivers were all season. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason. he didn't have the gigantic numbers that some of these other players have. He had injury issues, but I think one of the things that you look for is he also blocked 3 punts. So this is a guy that can contribute, and he's not afraid to get in the mix. I just love the way that these wide receivers played at USC. So I don't know. What do you guys think, Rod? What do you think of Pittman? These guys. The thing about me with the USC wide receivers, and is that all of them seem to have great leaping ability to get to the ball.
And because the USC has, because they had so many wide receivers, he didn't see the field as much as he probably could have if he was on a different team, right? Before 2018, he didn't even. Prior to 2018, he barely was on the field.
He had 101 catches for 1,275 yards. So, 101 catches is solid effort, for a college football season. And, like Rod said, USC, he had 101. St. Brown had 77. Vaughns had 74. So you had 3 guys that, could really play. And, I mean, he was clearly the best of the bunch. So 11 touchdowns. Not too many of those long game-breaking CeeDee Lamb touchdowns, though.
But this guy's, but like you said, he's dual purpose. He's also potential to play on the special teams and as a wide receiver. So
I like him. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I like him.
He was one of the names I didn't know if we were going to mention, but I'm very high on Michael Pittman. The other thing is that you had 101 receptions, and we got to remember that was with 3 or 4 different quarterbacks throughout the year for USC. So he can play with anybody. He can go up and get the ball. He's a nice 6'3" tall receiver. He's going to have a size mismatch over certain DBs in the NFL, and I think Pittman's a solid guy that can go up and get that ball. So I do like Michael Pittman as well.
So Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. He was a guy that. So here's the opposite of the Jerry Jeudy story, right? Is Brandon Ayuk, who's fantastic, right? We're mentioning him here in our top wide receivers, right? On the list. The issue with him is that he didn't come out of high school and make the impact as the freshman because he played at junior college. So he didn't get, like Jerry Jeudy could have gone from high school to the pros and still would have been drafted probably in the same place wherever he goes. Here's a guy who, 65 catches for 1,192 yards. We just talked about Pittman. He had 101 catches for 1,275 yards. So, 18.3 yards a catch. These are Ruggs type numbers, for Arizona State. 100 yards a game receiving on average. He played for Arizona State. He only had 8 touchdowns in that bunch. So, I mean, do you take him above some of these other guys that are on the board? We're going to see some movement here at wide receiver. This is the group where it's not going to be on the list, and we're going to hear Mel Kiper, who take it or leave it for what he has to add to the NFL draft. We're going to hear him saying, "I can't believe they took this guy with this guy on the board." Right? I like this one. I like this Brandon Ayuk. I know that Arizona State wide receivers haven't generally been the magic, the secret sauce for success in the NFL, but I think this guy is a gamer. Chris?
No, definitely. We saw he broke 140 yards, I think, on 4 different occasions this year. So we know he can put up the numbers. And they were against some solid teams. You got him going against Oregon State. He had a nice game early against Kent State, but he's shown that he can hang. He's a volume guy, getting at least 5 receptions in each of his last 5 games at the end of the season. I do like Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if I'm as high on him as certain other players. I'd definitely take him above Chanel, but I think a guy like Michael Pittman will go ahead of Ayuk personally. I would at least take him ahead of Ayuk.
All right, we're going to go a couple more, and then we'll just kind of do an overview of who else is on the board.
Yeah, I would take him lower too.
We got Tyler Johnson from Minnesota. The Gophers were good, and he was a good part of it, but we saw teams shut him down, later in the season. He's a senior, and flexing to be able to run stuff that got him open. Don't love him, but 6'2", 205, he's got some room to be a really good one. Rod, what are you thinking here on Tyler Johnson? Six catches, 1,318 yards, and 13 touchdowns. 15 yards a catch, 101 yards a game. In his senior season, in his junior year, 78 catches, 1,169 yards, 12 touchdowns. So back-to-back solid years. Rob, what are you thinking?
Another guy with good yak yards. And he's good at running routes, solid natural hands, dangerous after the catch though. He's great after the catch.
Chris?
Yeah, I think with Johnson, the thing I noticed watching him was that he's not going to be your speed demon down the field, but you know what? He has great hands. He runs good routes. I think he's a solid number 2 receiver in any system you put him in.
I have a thing here for Johnson, and I think that Thielen on the Vikings, we saw him get injured, and we saw it really hurt the Vikings a lot last season. I think this guy fits that role really well.
You think he stays in state for college and the pros? Then
we see it all the time. I think he's a great fit for the Vikings, especially if they can grab him in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go over a couple names here at a time. Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan. Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame, pretty highly regarded, and a guy we've seen all over the map in this NFL draft stuff. Antonio Gandy-Golden from Liberty. While Liberty didn't get a lot of ink, 6'4", 216 pounds, I'm sure people said stuff like that when Jerry Rice was coming out of Mississippi Valley State. I'm not saying we have Jerry Rice here. I'm just saying you cannot discount a guy like this, because this is the guy that makes the big impact. Could be the steal of the steals of the draft. KJ Hill out of Ohio State. Ohio State receivers, we see Michael Thomas, and what he's done in New Orleans took him a couple years to get it to the point where he's at now, but we've seen traditionally Ohio State. Chris Carter's from Ohio State. We've seen some great wide receivers out of Ohio State. Van Jefferson out of Florida. Florida generally gets very good high school wide receivers and destroys their careers. And Van Jefferson kind of fits that mold there. Colin Johnson out of Texas. Gabriel Davis, UCF. UCF, a place where we've seen great wide receivers in college that does not translate to the NFL. Brashad Perriman most recently. And plenty more. Chris, anyone on this rest of the list that kind of you think is where the value is? Like Quintez Cephas from Wisconsin. Here's a guy that had a bad quarterback too. Lipscomb from Vandy, played on a bad team. Victor from Ohio State, 6'4", 195 pounds, played in a loaded team, so he didn't get as much. KJ Osborne from Miami wide receivers in the NFL. this is the team that sends the, in recent, it used to be first round draft choices. Now it's the free agents that stick, from Miami. We see them all over the NFL. Anything else out here? Jawan Johnson from Oregon. I mean, just such a deep draft here for wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit with Gandy Golden. I really like what we've seen. We saw Liberty hang offensively, and he was a huge part of that. But another guy I was looking at was Quez Watkins out of Southern Miss. 64 receptions for 1,178 yards, 6 scores this season. At a Conference USA, he had a solid combine, ran a fast 4.36.40. I think he's another one of those guys that maybe thrives in the slot and can, burn a couple guys on the outside. He's going to be really fast. I think he could be a steal in the 3rd, 4th, or even 5th round.
How about you, Rod? Any other receivers you're looking for on the board here?
Yeah, I like Jalen Rigger from TCU. He has 43 catches, 611 yards, 5 touchdowns. But he also played on TCU with some really crappy quarterbacks who missed him a lot. He's a speed demon, home run hitter downfield. You get him on a team with a half decent quarterback. We'll get him the ball. I think he'll be big. It's just because TCU had such a bad quarterback.
I'm with
missing him the ball.
I think that TCU though the problem is for me is that their receivers in the NFL haven't not translated to the top of their ability. I think teams look at this.
Yeah.
I think teams look at it. At least they should.
He will need a little work, but I think he's got huge upside. With a little bit of work, I think he'll be good.
All right, well, that pretty much covers wide receiver for where we are now. Of course, we got a long way to go between the NFL draft and today. I think that, the next time we cover NFL draft, one thing that I would add to this segment is we'll probably try and number one, we'll prep a little bit more. And that means we could probably pick some landing spots for these guys, and that would make more sense as to where they would rank, because, certain teams are looking for a Brandon Ayuk type. Certain teams are more looking for a CeeDee Lamb. It's just who fits the system. Some teams are looking for anybody, just anybody. And you don't know who's going to be the next DeAndre Hopkins, You have no idea. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. We could do a first round mock draft, but maybe we should do a weekly one. Maybe we'll do them on Sundays when Monahan's here, and we'll just do a weekly mock draft and all the way up into the NFL draft.
Three Sims games today. Who we taking?
Oh, yeah. Who we got, Chris, for the Sims games coming off of the plus 1,100 Birdcage winners over here?
So we did just miss the start of the Pittsburgh, Kansas City rescheduling.
Well, we know who we liked in that one because we took it.
Okay. We've got Dallas at the Giants. Dallas -6.
I'm going to have to go with Dallas in that one to bounce back from the Philly loss.
The over-under 55.5. Anyone's curious about the total. And the Redskins at the Broncos. Broncos -2.5. Over-under 54.5.
I'm going to have to go with the Broncos at home.
And then there's one NBA. Lakers at Clippers. Clippers -2.5. Over-under 231.5.
I'll take the Lakers plus the points there. I think the Clippers win. I think the Lakers cover. Rod.
Yeah. Give me the Lakers plus 2.5. Denver -2.5. Give me the Giants +6. That historically between those two has always been a 3-point game. Give me the Giants +6.
All right. Chris, what are your picks on those?
Yeah, I'm going Lakers, and I go Broncos, and I am going to take. I'll take Dallas as well. I'll lay at 6 with Dallas.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. And not sure what. Maybe we'll do betting strategy again. I don't know. Maybe we'll have some really good news or something. Anyways, have a great day, everyone, and stay safe, stay healthy. I know it sucks being inside, but I don't hang out with too many people anyway. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you later.